Hey everyone, today we'll be comparing two small tower defense games called Tower Defense Simulator and Tower Defense X. You guys might go into my comments and say stuff like,
"Aren't you a TDS QA tester? I know you would biasly say that TDS is better."
look into my eyes and tell me, do I give a shit? Anyways, before we compare both games, let's talk about their game individually first, starting with Tower Defense Simulator. Tower Defense Simulator has a variety of towers to choose from. However, realistically, some are just better than the others. But people here play for fun, so you pick towers whatever you want, even if it's bad. The towers in Tower Defense Simulator are pretty straightforward. Towers start from level 0 and you can upgrade it, and each level increases certain stats. TDS currently has multiple game modes which are Normal, Photon, Fallen, Hardcore, Pizza Party, Badlands, Polluted Wasteland, and Event if there is one. Supposedly, Normal game mode is for beginner. However, it is not actually for beginner because it was scaled really badly to the point where it is just harder than the supposed harder difficulty because strong enemies appear much earlier than it should be. Bolton on the other hand is actually a better choice for beginner because it is pretty easy to do and strong enemies appears much later unlike normal due to its bad wave scaling. Bolton mode has a good pace for beginners even though that should have been the normal game mode instead. Fallen is the hardest game mode out of the three main game modes, and it is the main game mode everyone plays because the other two are just so boring. However, the enemies here aren't that hard either, but it should be fine. Next is the special game modes, and there's 3 of them. All of them are actually reskinned to the Fallen mode wave layout, just with a different enemy appearance. And that's the thing, if it just takes a game mode and then makes enemy look different with more HP, it doesn't seem like it has some effort being put in. Although, they are better than Fallen because it's actually more challenging. The current state of tower balancing in this game is pretty solid, but some are just downright bad that you shouldn't use it at all. For example, like Rocketeer and Military Base. They have an expensive price tag, but they are outclassed by other towers, so you shouldn't buy them at all. But if you want a harder difficulty, look no forward to Hardcore because it has a price inflation of 50%, so it makes the gameplay much harder. So you better spend wisely. Disappointingly, all of the game modes do feel boring for us active TDS players because these game modes are basically outdated. Which is why we always wait for events which brings us actual new content. That is sad, isn't it? Well, Tower Defense Simulator still has a strong player base, despite all of the shenanigans this game went through. So that is Tower Defense Simulator. Pretty cool, huh? My overall opinion on the game is that it is okay, but it totally can be much better. How about Tower Defense X? Well, there's not really much to talk about this game since it is just released like months ago, so you wouldn't expect too much from this game as of now. But we're comparing it anyway for the sake of this video. Tower Defense X isn't really that different from Tower Defense Simulator. However, the tower upgrade in this game has 2 paths rather than just one singular path, just like in Tower Defense Simulator. If you played Bloons Tower Defense 5 before, it is something like that basically. This means one tower has 2 unique usages depending on which upgrade you go for. Except for the fact that some tower is just better when you only do one path over the other. For example, like Mine Layer, where there's no reason to use top path when bottom path is just much better. Another example is with Patrol Boat where you should only do one bottom path and the rest top path. That's not really big of a deal though, but what is a big deal is the grind in this game. Tower Defense Simulator isn't that bad because the game modes are not that hard to do. Fallen and Molten can be beaten relatively easily because you don't need towers that are very expensive. This game has 4 main game modes currently: Easy, Intermediate, Elite, and Expert. Easy is pretty easy, duh. Unlike Tower Defense Simulator normal game mode, Intermediate is pretty good, not too hard. Elite is basically a reskin of Easy, being much harder, and it is where you need those somewhat expensive towers. Expert is just a reskin of Intermediate, and it is a sleeping zone even if you have really expensive tower. And if you don't, it's pretty much torture. This is assuming you're playing in random uncoordinated matches. This issue happens a lot, unlike in Tower Defense Simulator where random matches are not that bad. But you could say this is because Tower Defense Simulator existed for a very long time, so therefore more people have good setup. And also, Tower Defense Simulator has matchmaking system which actually has algorithm to pair people with similar levels. That's what Tower Defense X should have as well. Tower Defense X is also quite ambitious with their tower. For example, Warship being the largest tower ever. There's still more to come for Tower Defense X. It's only been a month since the game is released, so we'll wait for what this game has to offer. With all of that said, let's compare qualities between TDS and TDX. So TDS has a better beginner friendliness because the main game mode aren't hard to do, and the Molten mode is a perfect mode to grind in for beginners. This is unlike Tower Defense X where all modes apart from Easy, you have to mindlessly spam cheap to place tower to bait stun from enemies. Don't get me wrong, stun baiting is a good strategy. However, Tower Defense X overdo it a lot. Like, you have to do that every single second, even for Intermediate mode. But I guess it is only bad in Expert though. It is not that bad as the other two difficulties. It is probably gonna be even worse in the Fit Unreleased difficulty, considering the creator of the game says you will need the most expensive tower to beat this game mode. That is also another issue. The direction of balancing in this game is basically, oh, someone beat a game mode with a non-high level tower? Nerf it! The creator of TDX is basically at this strategy. He wants people to utilize high-level towers for high-level difficulty and not let people find a workaround so they can win high-level difficulty with lower-level towers. TDS always keeps things simple for their game mode, except even with Defend the Center game mode. There's no enemies killing towers every single second. The last two events before the current winter event as of this video being uploaded has been disastrous, because there are RNG based as hell. However, the well-received winter event in TDS right now, despite being easy, is actually fun. This shows that it is easier to make a fun event when you don't try to make everything needs a high-level tower, unlike TDX current Christmas event. Sure, there's two options, easier Xmas event or harder Xmas event. However, even hard difficulty game mode should be too hard, but even then, the easy version is still boring. From my observation, I think I know why TDS does it much better than TDX exactly. It is because you get to kill a lot of enemies really fast in TDS, and in TDX it is pretty slow. To prove my point, the solar eclipse is also well received, especially with Night 4 being the goat of TDS event. Both TDS and TDX tower balancing is okay, however the issue with TDS is that some towers are useless and need buffs. And TDX barely has any useless tower, but considering how many towers there are in TDS compared to TDX, the issue might be negligible. Both games could have been much better even with TDX being new. They just need a good mindset when it comes to maintaining balanced gameplay, and also the developer should acknowledge issues within the game. So yeah, that's both games compared. So what do I think? Which one is overall better? My conclusion on this matter would be none of them. Both games are mid and also copied tower battles. But I don't know. Every info I said from the beginning comes from Kenu, so if I say any misinformation, don't blame me, blame him instead. That's all for the comparison video. I hope you learned something new today from this video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. Oh hey Kenu, why are you holding a shotgun? Hey, wait, don't pull the...
Subscribe to Kinu, or Photon's gonna stay locked up in my basement.